Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So the last update about Unfortunate Love was how Lakshmi gets blamed for Virendra's death, that is Virendra's condition, after Virendra was rushed to the hospital. And Lakshmi remembered that Malishka was the one that pushed her and Rishi off the cliff the other day. But she was trying to tell everyone, but nobody wants to listen to Lakshmi because they believe she was responsible for Virendra's condition. So let's continue from there. At the hospital, Neelam takes Lakshmi to the reception of the hospital and asks Lakshmi that what is her name. Lakshmi says her name is Lakshmi. Neelam says the word Lakshmi is like a sacred word and it should not be connected with you. You are a stain and a black spot and your name should be bad luck because you are inauspicious and unlucky. Neelam says to Lakshmi that my family have faced many pain due to you. Each and every pain is written in my heart and it cannot be wiped off. Lakshmi says Neelam asks Lakshmi to be quiet and says you are spreading your inauspiciousness on my husband now and says my husband is fighting with death because of you. Neelam says to Lakshmi that Virendra is helpless and he cannot hear or say anything now, all because of you. Neelam blames Lakshmi for Virendra's condition and says Virendra is struggling to breathe because of you. Sonia says Lakshmi has been doing this since day one and bad thing is happening with us and today my dad is in coma because of Lakshmi. Lakshmi says to everyone that I didn't do anything. Sonia blames Lakshmi and calls her inauspicious. Lakshmi says Sonia please and says we all are in pain but if you say something wrong to me then even I have a limit to bear. Please don't say this and everyone looks at Lakshmi in shock. Sonia says that Lakshmi is now talking as if she has become fine from her mental sickness. She says Lakshmi gets fine and gets mad again anytime she feels like and says this means that Lakshmi was pretending to be mad before and Lakshmi was making all of us mad. Grandma asks Lakshmi if she is fine now, but Karishma stops Grandma and asks if Grandma thinks that Lakshmi's mental balance was shaking up before and says Sonia was right, Lakshmi was pretending. Sonia says Lakshmi is a big conspirator. Shalu asks Sonia not to blame her sister and Bani says our sister cannot do anything wrong. Shalu says to Sonia that you have enmity with my sister from day one. Bani says even your aunt. Karishma shouted asking Bani to shut up. Rishi calls Lakshmi. Lakshmi recalls Rishi's care and support when she was mentally unstable and Lakshmi calls Rishi by his name and Malishka is shocked. Rishi hugs Lakshmi after realizing that she has regained her memory and a song plays in the background. Lakshmi thanks Rishi for supporting her. Rishi says I love you and you are my everything and I am here because of you. I love you and Rishi hugs Lakshmi tight. Neelam breaks Rishi and Lakshmi's hug and says you are hugging the girl because of whom your dad is struggling with life and death. Rishi says Lakshmi cannot do anything to hurt dad. But Karishma says that whatever happened is because of this inauspicious girl, pointing at Lakshmi. Grandma says to Karishma that Lakshmi is not inauspicious. Neelam shouted at Grandma and says enough and says Virendra's fingers were moving before, but when this inauspicious girl went to him, then he fell into coma. Shalu asks Ayush to say something and support their sister, but Karishma says to Ayush that if you say anything, then I will not spare you. Ayush asked Karishma to listen to Lakshmi for once, but Neelam shouted at him and asked him to get out and leave the place. Karishma says to Ayush that you are totally blind and says you don't know what this inauspicious girl has done and she asks Malishka to show everyone the video on her phone. Malishka shows everyone the video of Lakshmi coming out from under Virendra's car and Ayush gets shocked. Neelam asks Rishi to see the video and says your dad is in this condition because of Lakshmi. Rishi says Lakshmi cannot do this. Malishka says Lakshmi failed the car brakes and everyone is shocked. Ayush says sister-in-law cannot do this. Shalu blames Malishka and says you sent my sister to go under the car so that you can record this video. Bani says when the chandelier fell down during Neelam's auntie's birthday, then also you took the recording of everything to blame Lakshmi, so you are responsible for everything that is happening. Shalu says to Malishka that you have done everything intentionally to trap Lakshmi. Kiran asks Abe to do something and says they would expose Malishka. Lakshmi says I went under the car to untie my toy that was tied to the car. Ayush says who would do this? Malishka says I tied the toy there and everyone is shocked. Malishka tells everyone that yes, everyone would say it now that I was responsible for tying the toy to the car. Abe tells Shalu that the proof is in front of everyone. Malishka says that Lakshmi has done this and says that she made the video of Lakshmi to show Rishi so that Rishi can caution Lakshmi because she thought it would be dangerous for her. Shalu says to Malishka that you wanted Lakshmi to live brother-in-law's life and this is why you are doing all this. Malishka says if anything had happened to Lakshmi, then the car driver would have been punished. She asks Lakshmi, how do you always reach at the same place when Rishi is in danger, but now you couldn't save Virendra uncle? Malishka asks Shalu if Lakshmi is God and says Lakshmi has saved Rishi always, but now she intentionally put Virendra's uncle's life in danger. She couldn't save him at the end. She asked Shalu to give her the answer why Lakshmi couldn't save Virendra's uncle from falling off the cliff, and everyone looks on. Karishma says to Malishka that I have an answer and says this happens when the same person is the one doing the planning and plotting, and all this is because of Lakshmi's conspiracy. Shalu says my sister is not a criminal to do this and to hurt uncle. Shalu asks Rishi to say that Lakshmi, her sister, can give her life for him and she cannot hurt anyone. Malishka stops Rishi from defending Lakshmi and says everyone is trapped in Lakshmi's drama, and she tells him that Lakshmi is responsible for his dad's condition. The police comes there and asks that who was the driver who broke the traffic signal, and everyone looks on. The nurse wonders what had happened because Virendra moved his fingers, so he shouldn't have slipped into coma. Grandma asks the inspector that do you want to arrest my son? And Rishi calmly tells the inspector everything that happened that made his dad broke the traffic signal, so the inspector asks Rishi to write down a statement. Shalu and Bani tells the inspector that their sister is innocent. The constable brings the same mechanic that failed the brakes and says he said that the car brakes were not failed. Malishka thinks if I use Shalu and Bani gave the mechanic money to expose her. The mechanic looks at Malishka and says the car brakes were failed and says someone failed it, and Malishka panics. The inspector asks the mechanic if he is sure that the car brake was failed on purpose, and the mechanic says yes. The inspector asks who is the enemy who tried to kill Mr. Oberoi. Malishka is about to point at Lakshmi, but Rishi holds Malishka's hand and says there is no such enemy in our family. The inspector says to Rishi that we would inquire about the incident, and just as your dad gets fine, please inform us. Rishi says okay, and the inspector goes. Malishka asks Rishi why did he stop Lakshmi from going to jail, and says Virendra uncle is your dad and he is in coma, and she asks if it doesn't matter to him. Rishi says to Malishka that Lakshmi cannot do anything like this, and he asks Malishka not to trouble him. Karishma says you want to care for Lakshmi and not Malishka, who is our own. Grandma asks Karishma not to drag the matter and says I feel that Lakshmi did not do anything, so don't stretch the matter. Lakshmi tries to clarify that she is innocent and she tried to explain everything that happened, but Neelam shouted at Lakshmi. Malishka calls Lakshmi inauspicious and says even a witch will not harm the people of her house, but Lakshmi killed her parent and now she is behind Virendra's condition. Malishka tells Lakshmi that first she killed her parent and now she is trying to kill Virendra's uncle with her inauspiciousness. Shalu shouted enough and says everyone knows who the witch is here, so Malishka should stop blaming her sister. Kiran shouted at Shalu and says that Malishka is right, their sister is inauspicious. Lakshmi stops Shalu and asks her not to say anything. Karishma asks them to go from there. Ayush says mom. Neelam says it is proof that Lakshmi is inauspicious and says that your parent died in front of you, and she asks Lakshmi to answer yes or no, and Lakshmi looks on. Neelam says to Lakshmi that you are inauspicious and you cannot stay here because I will not let your inauspicious effect falls on my family. Neelam tells Lakshmi that your every relationship with our family is over and says you are dead for us from now on. Rishi says mom, but Neelam slaps Rishi hard and says you will be silent and you will not say anything. Neelam says to Rishi that your dad is in coma because of Lakshmi, and she asks him that how many proof do you want? She says you have insulted me in front of Lakshmi and says if you can forget your parents for your wife before, then even I can forget you if you support Lakshmi today. Neelam tells Rishi that if you support Lakshmi, then think that even you are dead to me like Lakshmi is dead for me, and Neelam goes away from there. Karishma asks Ayush to go away from there. Ayush feels sorry and goes away from there. Lakshmi cries and thinks of Neelam's word. Lakshmi closes her eyes and she faints, and Shalu and Bani panics. Bani brings a stretcher. Shalu calls Rishi to see that Lakshmi has fainted, but Rishi stays silent. Shalu asks Lakshmi not to worry and says, "We are here for you." They look at Rishi, who is standing there silently, and Shalu and Bani rush Lakshmi to get her checked by the doctor. Abe praises Malishka and says, "You have proved that you are my daughter today," and says, "Great, I am proud of you." Malishka thanks Abe and tells him that Neelam auntie said that Rishi is dead for her. It is a big thing. Kiran asks if Rishi will go back to Lakshmi, and Malishka says Rishi would never go back to Lakshmi after seeing Neelam auntie's anger. Kiran says to Malishka that if Neelam finds out that you are guilty and not Lakshmi, then Neelam would kill you, and Malishka asks Kiran not to talk about that. In the ward, the nurse tells Shalu and Bani that Lakshmi is weak. Shalu tells Bani that Malishka has done this, and Bani says that she knows. Bani tells Shalu that her sister and brother-in-law love each other very much, but Malishka will not let them live in peace. Ayush comes there and asks about Lakshmi. Shalu shouted at Ayush, asking him to leave, and says if anyone sees him there, then they will scold him. In the ward, Lakshmi takes Rishi's name in an unconscious state. Rishi thinks of Malishka and Neelam's words that Lakshmi is inauspicious. Rishi imagines that Virendra is there and he hugs him and cries, but he finds out that it was only his imagination. Shalu and Bani see Rano coming there with their uncle. Their uncle asks them how this all happened, and he gets worried for Lakshmi. Grandma tells Karishma that Neelam reacted too much. Karishma says Neelam did right and says we shouldn't have seen this day if that inauspicious girl was not in our house. She says now Rishi and Lakshmi cannot unite because Rishi has also seen Lakshmi's true color today. Rishi comes to see Virendra and he cries, seeing him lying helplessly on the bed. He recalls Virendra teaching him how to ride the bicycle and saving him when he falls down. He recalls bringing Trophy home after coming top in class. He recalls Virendra telling him that his chair will be his chair after him and he should handle the home and business after him, and the flashback ends. Rishi regrets that he couldn't save Virendra and he cries. The nurse comes to Rishi and asks him to come to Lakshmi because Lakshmi is in shock, and Rishi goes to see Lakshmi and Malishka looks at Rishi. Lakshmi takes Rishi's name in an unconscious state and Rishi comes there. Rano asks Lakshmi to open her eyes. Lakshmi opens her eyes and sees Rishi standing there. Lakshmi goes to Rishi and tells him that she did not do anything, and she asks if Rishi trusts her. She says we would convince your mom together that I am innocent, but Rishi stayed there quietly. Kiran takes Abe to a side and says Lakshmi will tell everything to everyone about Malishka, that Malishka had pushed them off the cliff. Abe asks how did Lakshmi know? Kiran says Malishka told her that Lakshmi knows. Abe calls Malishka. Malishka looks at Lakshmi hugging Rishi, and Malishka gets worried if Lakshmi would expose her to Rishi. Alright guys, thank you so much guys for watching. Please don't forget to give this video a like and drop a comment if you can, and I will see you all again in my next video. Bye guys.